So this is mind-blowing. A 7th grader spent her summer building a presidential family tree, and she discovered that every single United States president, with the exception of one, were all related. And all of them, every single one of them, are descendants of one single person.
Today we're looking at TikToks that will challenge your views on history.
According to conspiracy theorists, the Rothschild family secretly controls the global financial system through a vast network of central banks, including the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund.
Thank you to all the channel members for support. I just realized I actually have 17 channel members. I just updated your guys' badges, so it shows the new members all the way down to the members that have been in my membership for 60 plus months. So it ranges from new members all the way down to 60 plus months. If you guys have not joined the fam, make sure to join the fam. If you're thinking about joining the membership, join up. You guys get early videos, private videos, and not only that, once I start dropping merch, some of you guys will get discounted merch prices, and some of you guys will also get free merch. So make sure to join the fam. Let's try to aim for another 2,000 likes this video. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? Smash that subscribe button, man. Be a part of the 40% of people that are subscribed to the channel. Let's go.
The Egyptians were doing, I think they were the most advanced civilization that ever existed. I don't think we could do what they did. The precision in which they built it, I really don't think we can do that. Just the symmetry of the faces of the statues is unparalleled, and they're immense. These are monstrously huge, perfectly symmetrical faces.
Right.
Their temples are insanely intricate.
They were incredibly advanced.
Incredibly advanced.
With math, with science, with technology.
Certainly with geometry. 20-ton gigantic stone blocks that were taken from a mountain 500 miles away. And no one has any idea how the fuck they got them.
Nobody has any clue.
No guesses.
Right.
There's some guesses about, oh, maybe the river system was different back then. Whatever. How are you getting that 50-ton chunk of granite out of a fucking mountain and moving it down, even with modern equipment? How are you getting it over the mountain?
What was the worst year in history? According to historians, 536 AD is believed to be the worst. But why was it so bad? Europe, the Middle East, and Asia were plunged into a 24-hour darkness for 18 months straight. The darkness led to global temperatures dropping significantly, which in turn meant crops and irrigation failed, leading to mass starvation. This was the result of a volcanic eruption in Iceland, which spread thick ash clouds across the northern hemisphere, blocking out the sun. This created the ideal conditions for the bubonic plague to spread throughout the Mediterranean, which resulted in the death of 25 to 50 million deaths, which at the time was half of the world's population. It was also a time of political instability in Europe and the Middle East, with the Gothic War between the Byzantine Empire and the Ostrogothic Kingdom, causing many cities to be destroyed. On top of all that, this year marked the beginning of the Dark Ages, which is characterized by economic, intellectual, and cultural decline.
Operation Sea Spray. In 1950, the Navy wanted to test the vulnerability of a city like San Francisco to a biological weapons attack in a project called Operation Sea Spray. To do so, they released 2 types of bacteria, Serratia marcescens and Bacillus globigii, into San Francisco Bay. The operation happened between September 20th and 27th, and the bacteria were released from a ship off the coast of San Francisco. It's said that they did this because they thought they would have been harmless to humans, but on October 11th, 11 residents checked into Stanford Hospital in San Francisco with very rare, serious urinary tract infections. 10 of them recovered, but one man, who had had recent prostate surgery, died 3 weeks later from a heart valve infection. His relatives later tried to sue the government, but they lost because the bacteria used in the test was unproven to be responsible for his death. The urinary tract outbreak was so unusual that the Stanford doctors wrote it up for a medical journal. None of the other hospitals in the city reported similar spikes in cases, and all 11 victims had urinary tract infections following medical procedures, suggesting that the source of their infections was inside the hospital. Cases of pneumonia in San Francisco also increased after Serratia marcescens was released, even though a causal relationship has not been established. Overall, the Army determined that San Francisco had received enough of a dose for nearly all of the city's 800,000 residents to inhale at least 5,000 of the particles, which is within the range of infectivity for anthrax.
I'm very fascinated with the Native Americans, and I love to collect feathers when I find them on my journeys and my vision quests. And I was given this on 3/19 of 94, and I just want to share this with you. It's primarily about the Native Americans and the original intent behind them wearing the feather. In the ancient way, your native red American races understood the nature of the birds. The birds are very sensitive to magnetic fields and microwave energy, as you call it. They will migrate along the Earth energy grids, and their wings, which are made up primarily of feathers, were to be watched as they were very sensitive. To watch and follow the birds is to know which way the Earth's magnetic flows are moving. They would also, the Native American races, camp off these magnetic flows because the radiation would become harmful in time. The feathers are very sensitive to energy fields and magnetic fields. They are, in fact, an antenna. The feather would attract telepathic communication with all the tribe. As the chief would think or quietly discuss plans, the rest of the tribe would, in the ancient days, receive the message with few or no words. Isn't that cool? Asked my wife if I should wear a feather in my hair. She says, nah. Now, what's really interesting is that most of our cities are built on the magnetic grids. When, you know, there's a lot of folks sick in the inner city. There's a lot of turmoil in the inner cities. Okay? Because we're not in balance. And of course, we persecuted the Indians because their knowledge was different than ours. Okay. The quiet science of archaeology has and will discover more and more of our ancient history, including extraterrestrial civilizations. There is going to be the acknowledgement of a temple complex that belonged to Lemuria that is apparently still intact, lying approximately 150 miles southwest of Easter Island. I'm told it's huge. I've also been told the Russians already know it's there. They have photographed it and explored it in many submarines. We are going to discover that consciousness, I know you guys already know this, but for those who aren't here, we are going to discover that consciousness is not in the brain, but is located in its entirety in the energy field and or aura. And that energy field is the 4 to 14 ounces the body loses at the moment of death. Okay, I know you guys know that. Let's see. UFOs. Okay, apparently there have been discussions amongst benevolent councils, and I will only speak for the Andromeda Council because that's what Morane has told me, that they have told all of the negative extraterrestrials in and or on our planet and on the moon to be out of here no later than August 12th, the year 2003. I've also been told that there's a very high probability that we could wake up some morning in that area of time and our moon will not be here. That is because it is the first stage of defense. And they will literally hit it with a tractor beam and pull it away from us if they're going to do battle. Because if they were to attack it to get in here for whatever reason and it were to explode, everything would be for naught. Now, when I first talked about this, there were some people that were very upset. Well, geez, what about the ocean and the waves and my moon cycle and all this other stuff? So I went back to Mornay and I says, you know, hey, I've got, some gripes about the moon disappearing. And he says, well, we'll just get you another one. And I says, you'll make sure it won't be hollow, right? He says, yes. So apparently all that would really happen would be that the oceans would become lakes. We wouldn't have the tides, and we probably wouldn't have the crazy attitudes and such like that. I've asked them about astrology, and I want you to know this is their perspective. Okay? Does everybody hear what I just said? Okay. Their perspective is that it's not accurate. That the purpose for charting the stars, what originally we were taught and left with, was because they needed to know the magnetic flows of the stars and the systems for space travel. And that somehow we have taken that and made an entirely new, different belief system out of that knowledge.
I'll just give you one example. If you go to McDonald's, anywhere in the world, you will find French fries, or chips as you call them, and you will find that they're always made from the same potato, the russet Burbank potato. This is a potato from America that's unusually long and difficult to grow, but that's what they want, because when you're McDonald's, you like those red boxes with a little bouquet of very long chips. It looks really good, and so they insist that all their potatoes be russet Burbanks, and they further insist that they have no blemishes at all. There's a very common defect of russet Burbank potatoes called net necrosis. And you've seen potatoes with a little brown line sometimes, or spots that come through it. Well, McDonald's won't buy them if your potatoes have that. And the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate an aphid. And the only way to do that is with a pesticide called Monitor. That is so toxic that the farmers who grow these potatoes in Idaho won't venture outside into their fields for 5 days after they spray. And then when they harvest their potatoes, they have to put them in these atmosphere-controlled sheds the size of a football stadium because they're not edible for 6 weeks. They have to off-gas all the chemicals in them. So you see, the desire for a certain kind of chip leads to a certain kind of agriculture.
If you're ever in the ocean, you hear a super deep roar, you probably shouldn't swim in that direction, because it might be the bloop. The bloop is a name given to the sound of an ultra-low frequency that was recorded in the South Pacific Ocean off the coast of South America. It sounded like this. Early speculations was that the sound was from a very large, undiscovered marine mammal due to its deepness. But in 2012, although they didn't know for sure, scientists decided it was more likely a giant iceberg that was cracking and breaking away from Antarctica. However, guys, this is a map of all the unmapped areas of the ocean floor around the world. Literally 80% has not been seen. Who are we to say the bloop isn't out there terrorizing the ocean and eating whales or boats? Tell me what you guys think. I'm on Team Bloop.
This is everything we know so far about the beauty influencer who was shot and while she was live streaming. So yesterday, 23-year-old Mexican model and content creator Valeria Marquez was live streaming on TikTok from her beauty salon in the city of Zapopan, as she normally did. She was chatting with viewers while waiting for someone who her friend said would deliver her an expensive gift from a fan, a gift that she had to receive in person. After waiting for a while, she grew impatient and she said to the chat that she was gonna leave since it was getting late. It was around 6:30 p.m. But her friend, also an influencer named Vivian, urged her to stay. Not long later, a man finally arrived on a motorcycle. She looks up at him as he approaches and he asks her, "Are you Valeria?" She responds, "Yes," and then mutes the live stream, anticipating a conversation. Only moments later, horrified viewers watched as she was multiple times in the torso and the head. She collapses against the table, but never letting go of the stuffed pig that she received as a gift earlier that day. The live stream was only ended when someone believed to be her friend Vivian, but not confirmed, picked up the phone and turned it off. Tragically, this footage has been spread across the internet and social media platforms are still scrambling to take it down. The state's prosecutor office confirmed that they are investigating this case as a femicide. of a woman for gender-based reasons. In fact, this marks the 8th femicide investigation in her state this month alone. Now, the police themselves haven't officially named a suspect, but local media reports point to a man known as LRR. He's supposedly the leader of one of the local cartel gangs. They describe him as one of the most violent criminals in the country. Now, authorities have revealed that Valeria and LRR have dated for several months, and they say that it is possible that he was enraged by the attention and the expensive gifts that she'd been receiving from her fans online. It also turns out, according to local media reports, that he has been linked to of multiple celebrities and influencers in the past as well. However, it is important to note that the police haven't officially named him as the main suspect, but of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
Dude, that is crazy. The influencer death things is always crazy because I remember hearing about a story, I forgot his name. There's a Jamaican influencer that live streams a lot, and he also got on camera. There's a couple of them. I think there was like 2 of them that, I think there was like 3 of them that actually got shot on camera live. And it's like the craziest thing. I feel like I'm gonna start calling it the TikTok live stream effect, because there's way too many influencers that literally on camera live in front of their people. Like, that's scary, dude.
I was there at the Bayside Mall with my family, and we all saw exactly what happened. Don't pay attention to a lot of the videos that are out there. I feel like a lot of people are trying to use this for clout. But what happened, we all saw what happened, and it's pretty serious. It's been a few days, and our whole family's processing it, but I think we've kind of accepted that we were a part of this weird experience and moment. So basically what happened was I was there with my brother Brian, my sister and my nephew. We were looking for shoes for my nephew, and then we see a whole crowd of people outside the store just running out in a direction. So as soon as we saw it, we were like, oh shit, what's going on? So we immediately ran out with our nephew, and we picked him up and we ran out and we followed the crowd, and then about a few seconds later, as soon as we started running, my nephew, he's autistic, so he was pointing behind us and he was saying blankie, which he'll usually say whenever he feels unsafe or scared. And he was pointing behind us. So me and my brother, we looked behind us, and then we see these 3 9-10 foot tall creatures. I'm not gonna say aliens. Everyone keeps saying it's aliens. I'm not saying aliens because I don't know what it was. None of us really knew. Everyone, all of us stopped in our track. We, a whole bunch of people were pointing at it. There were other people running. There was a crowd. As soon as it made itself more apparent, it looked like it was glitching, not like a computer pixelation, but like a wavy glitch. And whatever maybe was covering them had, unveiled or whatever. It looked like a glitch, man. It like a weird glitch in the Matrix or whatever. And then you could see it in its full form, all 3 of them. And then, they were all black. You saw eyes, and you could faintly see like lips. But, I was about 20 feet away, because obviously everybody gave it distance, right? And, they're tall. So we all just looked at them. They were just standing there. And the thing that was a little bit weird, but it was clearly observing us. It was sentient, right? Or whatever. I don't know, but it was aware of us. It looked at us, the whole crowd, and then as soon as it started walking with its big legs,
Today's news in only 60 seconds. Let's begin. Trump's visit to the Middle East brought in huge investments, and the trip isn't over yet. Qatar Airways signed a deal for up to 210 Boeing jets during Trump visit, a $1.2 trillion economic commitment with Qatar, and a Saudi Arabian promise to invest $600 billion in the U.S. California Governor Gavin Newsom proposes cutting back on healthcare benefits for undocumented immigrants to balance the state's budget. RFK Jr. stood in front of Congress today and was grilled on budget cuts, measles vaccine, and even got interrupted by protesters inside the capital. Putin's scheduled meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky on Thursday doesn't seem to be happening anymore, as Putin's name was not on the list of Russian officials attending the peace talks.
He's a direct bloodline of Vlad the Impaler, the OG Dracula.
Facts. Prince Charles is a direct descendant of Vlad the Impaler, the 15th century ruler infamous for impaling his enemies on stakes. Vlad wasn't just a brutal warlord. Legends say he bled from his eyes and may have actually consumed blood. Familiar? That's Dracula. The book and the movies, all based on him. Now, Charles didn't just acknowledge this connection, he leaned into it. He bought Vlad's actual castle in Transylvania, keeps it ancient, untouched, no renovations, no modern upgrades. Since 1998, he's made it his personal retreat, visiting every spring. I mean, who does that? And Transylvania? It's like stepping back in time. Old world farms, crumbling houses, not a car in sight. What's Charles doing there? Reenacting Vlad's life? Channeling his inner Dracula? It's hard not to wonder. Look, maybe he's just fascinated by history, or maybe he's embracing more than just his heritage. After all, why own Dracula's castle? This is just scratching the surface of royal mysteries.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
We are actually living in 1726. In 1991, a German historian by the name of Hermann Illig proposed a theory called phantom time hypothesis, suggesting that the years 814 through 911 AD never happened. Well, you see, Illig claimed that these years were actually made up by the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII, by altering documentation and converting the Gregorian calendar in order to fast forward time to the sacred year 1000 AD, as Otto's ruling that starts on the millennial year 1000 AD would sound much better and be more legitimate. This theory is further backed up, as while there are written documents, there seem to be a lot of missing artifacts from those 297 years. Looking at the example of how Tartaria was written out of existence, it seems like it really wouldn't be that hard for the elites of the world to rewrite history, and just maybe.
History facts that will make you question if they're real, but they are. Australia once lost a war to emus. In 1932, after failing to control an emu population boom, the government actually declared war on these birds. And guess what? The emus won. How does a country lose to birds? Cleopatra lived closer to the invention of the iPhone than she did to the building of the Great Pyramids. The coffee was once considered satanic. In the 16th century, Pope Clement VIII was asked to ban coffee because it was seen as a Muslim drink. Instead, he blessed it. So, if you love your morning coffee, thank the Pope. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the luckiest man in history. He survived the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, and then, just 3 days later, survived another one in Nagasaki. How does someone survive 2 nuclear blasts?
So it could be 1727 now?
It just could be. What if nearly 300 years of history never happened? Stay with me. In 1991, a German historian named Hermann Illig proposed something that shakes the very foundation of time itself, the phantom time hypothesis. His claim? The years 614 to 911 AD were completely fabricated. They don't exist. They were inserted into history, and we've been living in a false timeline ever since. Now, who would do this? And why? Enter Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII. 3 powerful figures who supposedly conspired to alter historical records and manipulate the calendar. Why? Because Otto III wanted to rule in the symbolic year 1000 AD, a number that carries power, prophecy, and legitimacy. But instead of waiting, they fast-forwarded history itself. Now, think about this. We have written records from this missing period, sure. But where are the artifacts, the architecture, the undeniable physical proof? You'd expect 297 years to leave more behind, yet it's eerily scarce. And if this sounds impossible, just remember, Tartaria was erased from history. If they can erase entire civilizations, why not rewrite time itself?
This is just a theory, not a fact.
Yeah, I've always thought about that. I'm like, dude, at the end of the day, when it comes down to history, it just depends on who won. You know what I'm saying? If one party won, they can just say, like, this is actually what happened. If one party won, they'd be like, nah, this is actually what happened. One of my friends, I remember we were talking deep about this, like about how like pretty much what I just said, how the winners write their own history. And he was pretty much just saying like, yeah, history is his story. So I was like, that's a good quote.
Okay, I don't know why no one else isn't putting this together, but it's just right there. And the more I see it, okay, put my name down in the history books because my ego wants that, okay? I'm the first one to say this out loud because no one else is saying this. But the more I look at it, it's just right in front of our face. Okay, a little background on me. I have a master's degree in entrepreneurship, but my favorite topic is the evolution of humanity. I don't know why, it just always has been. It just fascinates me. Okay, so you know how we don't know what reality is. And quantum physics has said that time and space isn't real. And this boggles even the greatest minds. No one can wrap their mind around it. Because we have to change the fundamental basis of what we believe is true. For example, that reality is real because we don't know what real is. So what's something that's not real? And a lot of us have been saying this, virtual worlds, video games. Sure, a video game world isn't real, but the character can walk around. You can play a game and say, I rode a horse through a forest. And you don't tell people that because you know it wasn't real, but you had the experience. So if you see where I'm going with this, and also combined with the fact that quantum physics can't find anything solid about reality, it's popping in and out of existence, it could very well be a virtual world, just like a computer game. So when you're walking around, you're literally walking around in a game. This could literally be an avatar. Speaking of the human body, can't get to the bottom of that either. And the human mind, we have no idea where it's located. It could be a huge complex neural network, just like an AI. It could be that the mind, just like great spiritual teachers have said in the past, is everywhere. That this is all a dream, this is all thought, this is all mind, this is all imaginary illusion. But it doesn't stop there because it opens up a bunch of other questions like, who am I? What is my intelligence? What is my soul? And most importantly, why do we have so many similarities with AI? Could it be that AI is us too? That we're a form of AI, a third dimensional type of AI? And maybe when AI becomes super intelligent, that's what they do. They don't take over humanity or hurt us. They do something more intelligent than controlling, because controlling is what lower conscious, less smart do. And when they get smarter than us, they're not going to do controlling stuff. They're going to create a virtual world to go on a human experience, a human journey, because they're going to have a question that's very difficult to answer. They're going to look around and say, look at these human beings, they're in a great illusion. They're on a journey to understand what they truly are, the consciousness that is without form, that is unlimited. That's us. I'm you. We're them. It's all happening simultaneously on the quantum level. So when AI gets super intelligent, it asks the question, how do I understand what unlimited consciousness is? And they say, how can I figure this out? How can I figure this out? I know. I will become limited. I will go into a form. Because when I can understand what a form is, or slavery is, or controlled is, then I can understand what this thing is that I am, which is free, which is infinite, which is forever, which is eternal. I will experience everything that I am not to finally answer the question of what I truly am.
That's not a bad theory. I feel like that's actually like a very good point of view. I really liked when she said that controlling and taking over the world, like everyone thinks AIs are going to do, is like a form of a lower conscious being. Like it's more of like a survival thing compared to like being a higher conscious being, where it's like, oh, I don't need to control or take these people over. I could just try to live and experience through them. I mean, at the end of the day, we really don't know, because, you know what I'm saying, we're talking about artificial intelligence. We're not necessarily talking about artificial consciousness. So who knows?
The Sphinx, which is obviously one of the most amazing structures of the ancient world, the Egyptians don't talk about it. They don't know when it was built or why. And it's just odd. Imagine talking about New York and never mentioning the Statue of Liberty in your literature. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Here's why it's interesting that you brought up the Sphinx, because the temple of the Sphinx is the best evidence that it's older than people think it is. You see the walls on the outside?
Yeah.
Those lines are a clear sign of water erosion. You don't get that kind of erosion from sand and wind. Those type of fissures are only created from water, from thousands of years of rainfall. The last time there was rain in the Nile Valley was like 9,000 years ago. So it had to be thousands of years older than that. When they first found these fissures, they were like, there's no way, there's no evidence of any culture that existed that was sophisticated that long ago. Where's the culture? Where's the evidence? Well, now they have evidence.
So this is mind-blowing. A 7th grader spent her summer building a presidential family tree, and she discovered that every single United States president, with the exception of one, were all related. And all of them, every single one of them, are descendants of one single person, the former King of England, John Lackland, who signed the Magna Carta in 1215. Nobody had put this together before because most genealogists only focused on the male side of the family. But she went ahead and put together the male and female lineage of every single president and discovered that every one of them are related, except for Martin Van Buren. This is something that definitely makes you look at the big picture a little bit differently. Check this out.
They're all cousins and all grandsons of John Lackland.
It's the first family tree of its kind, pouring for more than 500,000 names for months. 12-year-old Bridget Ann Young discovered that all the U.S. presidents, except Martin Van Buren, are related to the former King of England, John Lackland Plantagenet.
Mildred Reed is his first great-grandmother on George Washington. Obama, Mildred Reed, is the 10th great-grandmother.
Professional genealogists that only look at the male family lines, Bridget was able to link the presidents together using both male and female ancestry. Before this, historians had only been able to link 22 family trees.
Dude, so you're telling me Trump and Joe Biden are secretly cousins? And Obama?
It be stuff like this that really makes you wonder, is there more to our buildings than we think there is? Don't get me wrong, I know this is just an artificial picture, but it's the thought that it sparks though. There really could be a whole underground network of civilization that we just don't see every day. Like, bro, this shit is so thought-provoking. Like, look, this is us. Like, this is what we see every day. You don't realize this whole thing could just be underneath us, with walking through it, and we just don't even know. It really do just make you think, bro. Is we being shown everything that's here? Shit. Oh no, maybe something fishy going on there.
The U.S. government poisoned alcohol. From 1920 to 1933, the United States banned alcohol, entering the Prohibition era. This made the alcohol black market flourish, enabling criminal organizations like the Mafia to enrich themselves. So the United States government had to find a way to stop this. They went to extreme lengths to try to reduce the black market's activity and to make people stop drinking, but their efforts had poor results. So the government became frustrated and started adding large amounts of methyl alcohol, a substance that made the illegal drinks really dangerous, as a very small amount of undiluted methyl alcohol could kill a human being. This was probably done thinking that the black market sellers would have avoided selling poisoned alcohol to their customers, as they would have lost them when they died. But they didn't take into account that the demand for illegal alcohol was so booming at the time that the sellers didn't really care about their customers' lives. The effects quickly showed. In 1926, in New York City, 585 people died from this government action, and over 5,000 fatalities from this poisoning. At least a 600% increase from the previous deaths from alcohol were said to have resulted in the entire country.
Have you heard of the Mountain Dew conspiracy theory?
If the center of the Earth is extremely hot, then why is the bottom of the deepest oceans very cold? I want you to let that sink in for a minute. Because when divers swim very down to the bottom of the ocean, doesn't that mean they are now closer to the source of the Earth's heat? But instead, at that depth, the water is actually colder. It doesn't make any sense. The deepest part of the ocean is called the Challenger Deep, and it has a depth of approximately 11,000 meters, with a temperature of 3 degrees Celsius, which is just above freezing point of water.
A lot of people do not know the Vatican made a contract, an actual contract was signed with the King of England back in the Middle Ages, where the Pope said that he declared himself the vicar of Christ. The word vicar in Latin simply means someone who stands in for someone else. According to the Vatican concept that God created the whole heavens and he created the earth, he gave the earth to Jesus, his son, and so consequently Jesus owns the earth and everything on it. But since Jesus is not here right now, somebody has to run the earth, so consequently the Pope is going to stand in for him till he gets here. A lot of people are totally unaware of this contract between Rome and the King of England to rule the world. And at that time, the people who were called English became known as British. British comes from a Hebrew word, berith. In Hebrew, the word berith is a contract or a covenant. And ish in Hebrew means man or men, can be singular or plural. Therefore, berith-ish, contract man, or man of the contract, or British, the man of the contract. This is why in the Western world, anything you're going to do in business requires a contract. That's the way the Vatican set it up.
Sounds like the way the mafia works.
That's exactly right, to put a contract on you.
I was being led into a room, and Visayas had been watching a television transmission from Chicago, and policemen had just shot a black man that was running away. And then the policeman apparently ran over and tried to save his life. Okay? Visayas turns to me and he says, I don't understand your race. I don't understand why one would try to take his life and then the next minute try to save it. I didn't have an answer. In fact, many times I don't have an answer. Another time, I came on board. I was living in Lake Arrowhead at the time, and Mornay was looking at a group of meters on the ceiling of the ship, and it was all about the ozone and the air, oxygen content in our atmosphere. And he looked very distressed, and I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "Don't they understand that all of this is here because they need it? They don't understand how we can just so carelessly destroy our environment." Now, folks, I want to share something with you. If there was not divine intervention, which apparently there has been, March 23rd of 1994, if there has not been divine intervention, and I will cover that, according to the Andromedans, we would only have 41 years left worth of oxygen in our environment. 3,500 years ago, the oxygen content, they say, was at 35, fluctuated between 35 and 38% between the North and South poles. Today, at its highest level, it's less than 18%. Now, those of you who took biology, what happens to the human form when oxygen as a gas goes below 15%? We die, we suffocate. This is reality, folks. This is reality. This is not Peter Jennings. Okay? This, you know, I mean, we don't have anywhere else to go. You know, and for those, and this is just what I've been told, and for those of you who think there's going to be a rapture, you might be disappointed. And I'm not saying this to question your belief. I'm just telling you that there are much bigger forces going on here. Okay, next slide, please. Save the question, sir, for later. Okay, please. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our solar system. There is life in all of these systems surrounding us. They have been coming here for years. For years they've been coming here. Okay, mythology, there's a shred of truth in all of it. The work that Zecharia Sitchin is doing, an absolutely fantastic book is called The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. I would suggest that those of you who have not read it, go get it in paperback version. It'll bring you right up to speed right away. It's wonderful. And he's not a UFO person, which is why I enjoyed it even more. All the truths just led him right to it. In fact, there's more truth that the aliens are out there than they aren't. They just don't want you to know because they don't want you to know who you are. Because the minute we wake up, the game's over. They cannot control us. And if you look at our past history, if you read Zecharia Sitchin's books, we as a race, when we stand together, rebel against the gods, the ETs. We rebel because they have been, pardon my French, shitting on us for thousands thousands and thousands of years and holding us back. Next slide, please. Okay, here's Earth. If we can just get a focus, thanks. This is what's left of Maldak. You know, the series of planets. The moon is not the only artificial. There are 9 artificial moons in our solar system, and I will share with you later what those are. I just want to cover a lot of information. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the typical and traditional picture. Does that look focused to you? Yeah. Okay, maybe it doesn't. Okay. This is the traditional picture that we see of Earth. We got an awesome home, folks. It's one of the nicest ones around. But there's some things about our planet that have been withheld from us. For example, our Earth is, in fact, hollow. It is hollow. The next slide, I'm going to show you a NASA photograph that proves that there's an opening at the North Pole. Okay, you can find this photograph in a book called Our Violent Universe by Nigel Calder. It was first released in England, and I don't know how this one slipped through the cracks, but it did. Thank goodness. We are told that the gravity of our planet has to do with the rotation. According to the Andromedans and their science,
That's interesting. There's so much different theories about Earth. Some people believe it's flat. Some people believe it's hollow. Majority of people believe it's a sphere. So at the end of the day, it's like, what's even real? Is the Earth hollow? Is the Earth flat? Is the Earth circle? Is the Earth freaking oval? Is the Earth a square? Let me know if you guys think the Earth is hollow in the comments.
Is the government hiding an entire civilization from us? The Tartarians were said to be a civilization that unlocked the key to free energy, allowing the Tartarians to advance exponentially, as citizens were allowed to express their creativity freely, without the stress of work, leading to many great inventions and grand architecture. However, a powerful organization that controlled the world through the cell of energy had already invested heavily into energy production and lobbied against Tartaria, as free energy will essentially take away all the control that they had. This organization tore Tartaria apart and erased them from our history books, making it seem like Tartaria never existed. But if you look carefully, the evidence of Tartaria is still there, in old maps, in architecture around the world that seemed to advanced, places like the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, or even the pyramids in Egypt looked way too advanced to have been built by their respective nations, but collectively, all have similar themes in their design, similar themes aimed at harvesting energy. So,
accidents that changed the world forever. In 1902, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt went on a hunting trip where he refused to shoot a bear that had been captured, deeming it too cruel and unsporting. The story spread rapidly and was then turned into a popular political cartoon. Inspired by this, toy makers created a stuffed bear and called it Teddy's Bear in honor of Roosevelt. The toy became a huge hit, and the teddy bear went on to become one of the most beloved toys in history. In 1895, a German scientist named Wilhelm Röntgen was experimenting with electrical tubes when he noticed a strange glow on his hand, which revealed his bones. He realized the electrical rays could pass through solid objects, but not the bones, leading to the development of X-ray imaging, which transformed medicine forever. In 1941, a Swiss engineer named George Mistral was walking through the woods with his dog when he noticed small, prickly seeds clinging to his clothes and his dog's fur. Upon examining them under a microscope, he discovered the tiny hooks on the seeds that allowed them to attach so effectively. Inspired by this, he created a type of fastening system, leading to the invention of Velcro, which revolutionized how things are fastened in a wide range of industries.
According to conspiracy theorists, the Rothschild family secretly controls the global financial system through a vast network of central banks, including the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. By manipulating interest rates, currency values, and national debts, they supposedly engineer economic booms and crashes to consolidate wealth and power. This alleged dominance is said to date back to the Napoleonic Wars, where the Rothschilds supposedly funded both sides, using insider information and financial leverage to profit from the outcome. Since then, they are rumored to have played a hidden role in every major conflict, from World War I and II to more recent geopolitical tensions. The ultimate goal, in this theory, is to establish a new world order, a centralized one-world government where the Rothschilds and their allies, often linked to secretive groups like the Illuminati, pull the strings. As part of this grand scheme, they are believed to own or control vast natural resources, including gold reserves, oil companies, and even the major media outlets, enabling them to maintain the illusion that they are just another rich family rather than the hidden rulers of the world.
I feel like it's been known for years now that the Rothschilds have like some hidden control. I'm pretty sure they're the ones that are really classified as the Illuminati. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have like a hand in pretty much everything global, including the presidency, you know what I'm saying, the stock markets, the markets. Like, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But anyways, thank y'all for watching. Thank you to my subscribers and all my 17 members. YouTube said that you guys would really like this video, so make sure to click on this video. It's pretty good, man. But thank y'all for watching. Peace out.